In all my years of practice of divorce law, one of the biggest regrets that I have is that the first case that ever came my way back in 2015, when the cases were filed by the wife and I started representing this husband client, I myself was doing criminal law for several years prior, but I had none of the tools that I have now that I've built up over the years, having dealt with hundreds of cases. And I made so many blunders in this divorce case. And now, finally, after 9 years of dispute between these parties, and most of our cases wrap up in say a year or maximum 2.5 years in the worst case scenario. This particular case, I feel I could have cut short if I just had the tools. So I say, any other divorce lawyer who is listening to this, I say, learn from my mistakes and don't repeat these mistakes when you're representing a husband client. One of the things that we did wrong was that we did not push more forcefully in our in the maintenance cases. There were periods where I know, like many other lawyers, slacked off because I could see the matter just going for date by date, adjournment by adjournment, and I thought, it's not a big deal. And it was one of those occasions when I slacked off a little that the judge imposed an atrociously large amount of maintenance against the client. Mind you, it's very easy for someone to say, oh, you slacked off and you were at fault. This matter had already been going on for about 2.5 years. The matter was getting adjourned after adjourned. About 18 or 20 times that I went to court, I sat there for 2 hours and then I came back and nothing happened. And then there was this one occasion where I sent my associate, who was also not that ready in that moment. And then we were hit with that maintenance order. And then it took us so much of time, effort, energy, and pleas before the Delhi High Court, before which the Delhi High Court stayed that maintenance order. There was one big mistake. Another big mistake was how we dealt with the police officers. We could have coordinated with the police officers and we would not have had to apply for anticipatory bail. And this was that phase. Things work in a lot of phases, right? Things keep changing. And this is one of those phases, 2015-16, where the courts of law, while granting anticipatory bail, used to tell the husband, deposit some money with the court, which we can then calculate towards future alimony payments. And even at that point of time, the court said, you tell us an amount that you're ready to deposit. And we should have said there is no amount to deposit, right? And we had several lakhs of rupees, caught up, in this thing where the court said, deposit this FD in the court, which we should have very strongly opposed. In fact, on many occasions now, the Supreme Court has said you cannot ask the husband to deposit amount in the court or to give, interim compensation to the wife. And the Supreme Court has, deprecated this practice of the high courts on many occasions since then. This is 2015-16. Another thing that we did not do was avail of our remedies, civil and criminal, against the wife and her family members. She had instituted these cases in Delhi. My client was living in another city. We could have, in that city of the client, filed civil cases, criminal cases, things which would have then become more difficult for the wife to deal with. And then she would have come to the table far sooner. We did file one case which she was eventually able to get transferred from the Supreme Court of India. She obviously did have to spend a little bit of time, effort, energy, money to get that case transferred. So I guess that was some respite for the client, but we could have done far more. There were so many things that had happened. Defamation had taken place. Extortion demands were there by the wife. Intimidation had taken place. Harassment had taken place by the wife. All of those things we could have availed our legal remedies of. In civil law, we could have asked for compensation. In criminal law, we could have asked for the wife and her relatives to go to jail. This is something that we could have done. We also did not take the right amount of steps. We did take a few, but we did not take as many as we could have, now that I know about those things, of initiating perjury against the wife when she did not properly disclose her assets. What we did was we just kept showing the court, see, this is what she is lying, this is what she is concealing, but we never actively tried to convince the court to compel the wife to disclose everything that she had and to also punish her for perjury, for lying to the court about what her income and assets are. The Rajneesh versus Neha judgment came in 2020, but the Delhi entire jurisdiction, because of the Delhi High Court judgment of Kusum Sharma, had been following or had been doing what Rajneesh versus Neha made mandatory for the entire country. They had been doing since, I believe, 2000, was it 10, 11 or 12, something like that. And so for a long amount of time, this was already in place. We could have filed perjury. We could have pushed very hard and very strong against the wife. But, we did none of that because I was clueless. I am grateful for all the learnings that I've had over the years, and because of that, I am able to, I can say with the slightest bit of pride, I'm able to deliver, a little better to my husband clients. And I remember when I did the cross-examination of the lady, it was about, 3 different occasions, 5 hours each, 15 hours of cross-examination that I did. I remember I went up to at least 50 colleagues at the bar with experience ranging from 10 years to 30 years. And I asked them, can you show me some sort of, template or some sort of cross-examination that you have done? And they all said that matrimonial disputes cross-examination doesn't really take place because matters all get settled. And this is again the kind of callous attitude that was imbibed in me through my fellow colleagues at the bar, which I became complacent with as well. And I must confess, this was another challenge. This is another thing, this mistake that I did. We got complacent. If we would have pushed hard, if we would have defended very strongly, if we would have mounted our own offense, things could have been very different. Because even now, we were able to get a not so bad deal after 9 years of litigation. And obviously, the wife's demand was almost 4 times higher. So we were able to keep our money for 9 years. And then after 9 years, we were able to, manage with just about 1/3 or 1/4 of what the wife's initial demands were. We were able to make this happen. And obviously we did some good things. We were able to keep the client out of jail in the, because of the anticipatory bail. We were able to get stays on these maintenance orders. We were able to, fight tooth and nail on custody, on visitation, on a bunch of other things. But, there were, as mentioned, these mistakes which I regret, and which I take an honest effort I make to ensure that this does not happen with other clients. And if you're a divorce lawyer, or you have a few, say, divorce cases, especially when you represent the husband, please don't think that you can just file, divorce or restitution of conjugal rights, and you just have to keep defending. And this attitude, which most of us have been taught by our seniors at the bar, which is, dekho bhai, if you're a husband, your client will eventually have to pay up. So, it is okay. Just, try to ensure that your wife doesn't, that your client doesn't end up in jail, or that, your client isn't completely taken for a ride. We can do better. Let's not say that. I mean, I'm assuming at least half the population among the lawyers are men themselves, right? Let's not just throw men under the bus and say, "Bhai, he's a husband, to kuch ho hi nahi sakta," and just laugh about it while we are sipping chai in our chambers. Let's try to do a little better. And if you do, I'd say, the clients will reward you as well if you're able to save them. Look at it like from that incentive. But let's just try a little harder and just not give up on the fate of the husband just because the laws are a little biased.